Chicken on a stick.
Hi, I'm Patrick,
I'm Maggie.
and we are Chicken on a Stick. Okay, welcome to another episode of Chicken on a Stick.
Welcome, welcome.
Today is a Maggie choice.
This was my decision.
Very kind of surprising. But it is 2017's Baby Driver.
I don't know what compelled me to want to do this. It just popped into my head, and I was like, I really like that movie. And it's been a long time since I've seen it. So we should do that. And it's also like I'm not like a big action-y movie person, or, scary movies is kind of my bread and butter, but I don't know. I really thought this would be a good one to do.
And we'll get into it in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Questions?
I got a question, Doc. Why'd I believe phones over here heard the goddamn word you said? You lay down your whole play. He ain't even listening. Baby?
The target is an armored truck at Perimeter Trust in Dunwoody, 10 a.m. sharp. We have the details of the route because someone at the depot has a nasal problem. The bank itself is right near the Buford Highway, so we should be able to hit the ramp within 60 seconds of getting out. We also have a diversion crew. They're gonna blow up a bread truck a ways away, keep the fuzz busy. The dress code is the Michael Myers Halloween mask, but don't all buy your mask at the same time. It looks suspicious. The switch car is ready, but you want me to hit the long stay parking structure at Hartsfield Jackson to get a heist vehicle that stays colder longer? Boost a commuter car, a family car, something that blends in well with morning traffic. Something on the heavy side, in case we need to ram the cops off the road. A Escalade, Yukon, Avalanche, whatever. It needs to be ready for an 8:30 start in the AM. Questions?
Well, ain't y'all cute?
That's my baby.
Okay, so Baby Driver
Baby Driver.
is wrote and directed by Edgar Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Very well known in the movie world over the last, I don't know, like decade or two, maybe two decades at this point, nearly. Mostly for his Cornetto trilogy, which is Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End.
All great movies.
As well as, and this one's more of a mixed review. Some people just don't like it. Other people love it. I personally find it a really good movie, and that's Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Baby Driver, which we'll be talking about, and then a couple years ago, Last Night in Soho.
That's right. That is the same guy. I love all of those movies.
Yeah, he also did one called A Fistful of Fingers in 1995. Never heard of it before.
I've never heard of that.
Never seen it. Maybe some point in the future I will try and find it just to be like, I've seen all of his movies.
Yeah, just for the sake of it.
But Baby Driver, 2017 action film. It stars Ansel Elgort.
Also, who's mostly known from The Fault in Our Stars.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other big one that he did?
I
feel like there was another love story that he did. I don't know.
I have no idea.
I was introduced to him in...
Divergent?
Divergent, yeah, that was it.
Sure.
I was introduced to him from The Fault in Our Stars.
He was also in the most recent West Side Story.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Very good singer.
Also stars Lily James, John Hamm. I'm going to totally butcher her name, but I'm going to assume it's Isa Gonzalez, Jamie Foxx, John Barenthal, and Kevin Spacey.
And Kevin Spacey. Womp womp. I totally forgot he was in this.
I mean, I guess it's worth touching on very briefly. We won't necessarily have to talk about it or get into it here, but I'm a very firm believer in separating the art from the artist. Mm-hmm. I find debates and discussions about if they're still profiting off of something that's like a negative thing.
Right.
I think that's sort of because of one person, you're hurting multiple people. Mm-hmm. This is not a Kevin Spacey movie.
No,
Kevin
it's-
Spacey is just in this movie.
Yeah.
Everybody else is doing a great job. The movie's great. Support it, buy it. Okay, he's gonna get a few dollars off of it.
Yeah.
Cry me a river.
Okay.
If you're gonna completely cut off Kevin Spacey movies out of your life, I feel bad for you because he's in some fantastic movies,
He's in some pretty
and he's a
good
fantastic actor. He's a shitty person. You
Shitty
leave it at
person.
that. He's a terrible, awful person.
Yeah.
But, he's just
made some good
some
movies.
amazing films.
Yeah.
And this happens to be at more or less the end of his journey as
Yeah.
an actor, basically.
The end of his positive.
I did once say, when all of this stuff coming out against him, he was supposed to be in a movie called,
Oh, is that the one where they replaced him?
like, All the Money in the World or something, I
Mhm.
think is what it was called. And he filmed all of his scenes in it, because he was a supporting
Right.
cast member in that movie. But they replaced him with somebody else. And I
Right.
told a friend after I saw the movie, I go, I was like, I'm not sure Kevin Spacey would have made the movie any better. Because
Yeah.
I don't think the movie was that good.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, you can't say that. Of course it's better for not having him. I was like, I don't know. Because the role was
Yeah,
so
it was-
minor, I don't think it would have fucking mattered.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I
anyway.
don't think so. But I agree. Shitty guy. Don't like him as a human being. But he's got some movies that I've, enjoyed, and yeah, you gotta make that separation sometimes.
Not sometimes, basically always. Because if you're not going to make that separation, stop using half the things you use on the internet. Stop
Yeah.
watching TV shows and movies. And even if you like certain paintings, like, I don't think you people realize how shitty a lot of these people were
Yeah.
in history.
Yeah.
Like, you think what Kevin Spacey did? Awful. Some of the people in the past that you probably really like? Much worse.
Way worse.
Much worse.
It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I still enjoyed the movie, and I'm glad that I picked this one.
So, might as well just get into it.
Yep.
The general synopsis for this is we follow a character codenamed Baby,
Baby.
who is a getaway driver for this little, basically for a central figure, codenamed Doc, played by Kevin Spacey. And Doc, always puts a little crew together with Baby as the driver to rob, like, banks and other things, and then splits the profits. And basically we're just kind of along for his journey as he meets and starts to fall in love with this girl and sort of questions his situations in life and his career
Yeah.
choice of robbing banks,
Robin
I guess.
Banks. And how old is how old in this?
I don't know. How would I know? Why would I know how old he is
I can't
in
remember
this?
if they said or not how old he
How
was.
old his character is?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they ever once said how old he is. I'm going to assume he was probably roughly his own age of like 25 or something.
Yeah.
23, 24, 25.
Right. Yeah.
He's old enough to have a job.
He's old
and
enough.
a driver's license. Well, I think they actually mentioned he might not have a driver's license, but he was old enough to quite literally have a job, so he
Right.
had to have at least been 18.
Something really interesting that I read was that the director of photography, Bill Pope, called the movie a postmodern musical, saying that there's not singing and dancing in the street, but the world acts to music. So every mannerism that is happening or certain things are happening, they're going along with the music, which would make it a little bit of a musical.
Yeah. Well, the movie is very big on the music, the action stunt work with the cars, and also colors.
Yes.
Which that carries over from all of his other movies. The Cornetto trilogy is all viewed in like certain color schemes and stuff, and is tied to certain colors or ice cream flavors or whatever. That's why it's called the Cornetto thing. Carries over into this, very colorful and everything. And Scott Pilgrim before this is also
That's a very colorful movie.
not necessarily a musical, but is very heavy with music and also very vibrant colors and
Right.
things. So anyway, might as well just hop right into it.
There's another fun fact.
What is your fun fact?
His character throughout the movie, for the most part, is wearing earbuds, and actually, when the music is when we're watching him listen to music, you're only hearing it out of a certain side. Like when you went to the movie theater and the music was playing, it would only be playing on, like, say, the left side or the right side.
I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting.
But that was so many years ago. I definitely don't remember in theaters, whatever.
Very long time ago.
It is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, the movie opens. We see a car pull up, and we see this kid sitting in the front seat, and he starts to play some music on his iPod as these three people get out of his car, all dressed in black. Like, I don't think you could look more like you're going to rob a bank than these three do.
Very, very robber looking. And also his black iPod was just such a little kick in the nostalgia. It was like one of those big fat ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's right, iPods. Those were the days.
I don't even think those were were those still the thing in 2017? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. I think it's
just his
old
thing.
style thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes more sense to when we get to it in the story, but yeah, and like I said, in 2017, I don't think iPods were even coming out anymore.
I don't think so.
So he's kind of dancing in the car, listening to some music, and we see in the background the three start to rob a bank. Mm-hmm. And they jump into his car, and the three with him are John Hamm's character, John Barenthal's character, and Isa Gonzalez's character. Like I said, I'm probably totally butchering her name. But their character names, it's Buddy, Darling, and Griff are the character names.
Griff.
Yeah. So they get into the car, and we get this just amazing driving sequence. Those just
such a cool scene.
The brilliant stunt work, and shot so well at this point, where he's just kind of going in and out of the city. I think it's Atlanta. This takes place in Atlanta. Yeah. So they're going in and out of Atlanta, and they're doing these just awesome moves of, like, my brain doesn't even quite comprehend how they twist and turn cars in such a way to literally drift around two moving things back to back and in and out and going drive reverse and all this stuff.
It's insane. And I had to look it up too. I was curious. This baby's car is a Subaru, a red 2006 Subaru Impreza WRX. The filmmakers set up several special Subarus to shoot the movie, including one WRX the crew converted from Subaru's signature AWD drivetrain to RWD, whatever that means. But anyway, it's a really cool little red car.
You don't know what RWD means?
No.
I'm pretty sure that's rear wheel drive.
I have no idea.
That means like the back wheels do the.
Oh. I'm not a car.
I'm not a car person either, but I know what certain things mean.
Anyway,
don't you know 4-wheel drive is always number 4 WD?
Yes.
4-wheel drive.
I have that. Right.
I have no idea.
I have no idea. Anyway, I just love the fact that this car, it's not like too flashy, and a lot of like car chase scenes in movies or car movies, you're getting like Lamborghinis and Porsches and like crazy luxury cars. I love that this just kind of looks like, I don't know. I feel like
well, that's the point.
I drive. Yeah.
He literally steals the cars.
Yeah.
So it's not his car. He stole it from somewhere.
I just like the car.
So after this just amazing opening music shot where he is outrunning these cops. He gets on the highway. He just coincidentally enough sees 2 other red cars that look similar to his, and he gets with them, and they go under an underpass, and he gets them to switch places, and the helicopter doesn't seem to notice that the one car with a spoiler broke off, and the other cars don't have it, so somehow he tricks them that way. But they come up to a parking garage, they get out of that car, get into another car, head back to the hideout.
It was also really good. He was doing some lip syncing to the music that he was listening to, and I thought that the way that he did it was pretty cool. And would you like one more interesting fact? Ansel Elgort, he actually got to keep the car from the movie, that red car. He was able to keep it, and he keeps it at his parents' house in a very humble little town in Ohio. And so whenever he goes, I follow him on social media, and I remember back during the holidays, he said that whenever he goes home to visit his family, he takes it out for a little joyride. And everyone is none the wiser. So very...
You don't think anybody recognizes it?
Probably now. But I thought that was really cool. I'm glad he got to keep it.
So at this point, we cut to the next morning, and we see Baby coming out of like a random house, apartment building type place, and he's listening to music, kind of dancing along. Goes and gets some coffee. While he's in the coffee shop, he notices this girl walk by, and he orders 4 coffees, and he shows up at the hideout. When he comes in, we see Doc for the first time cutting up the money, and Baby gives Griff, Buddy, Darling, Doc all a coffee. No coffee for himself. He just sits in the back quiet. And at this point, Griff is trying to figure out what's the deal with Baby. Why is he always listening to music and just sitting in the car?
Why is he so quiet?
He takes off a pair of his sunglasses while he's getting in Baby's face, and Baby just pulls out other sunglasses.
That was pretty funny.
Why he is carrying multiple pairs of sunglasses with him, I just don't understand.
He's prepared for any situation.
I guess that must have happened more than once.
Yeah.
For that case. We get here as well. Doc is basically just like, look, I put this team together. I trust him. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Shut up. Deal with it. Everybody takes their money and leaves. Griff says at this point, he says, well, if you don't see me again, I'm dead.
Yeah.
He doesn't show up again in the movie, so maybe he's dead.
I guess
Or
he is.
if we eventually get a sequel that has been talked about having interest in being done, maybe John Barenthal will come back because he's not doing Punisher or
Walking.
whatever other shows he was in at the time. He definitely wasn't in The Walking Dead in 2017.
Was that already done?
He only did 2 seasons of it.
Oh. I don't know.
He was not in that show for super long. So we find out here as well that Doc is taking money from Baby.
Yeah.
Baby's still getting a little bit, but like a very small cut.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because he owes Doc money for some reason.
Right.
We don't find out at this point why, but he owes him money. And he says, look, you got like one more job, and then we're square.
Yeah, we're done.
And Baby takes that as one more job, and I'm out. I
Yeah.
don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah, you do get the sense that there's something he's holding over his head, and he's doing the best that he can and going along with things. It's kind of weird too, because at one point I almost felt like they had sort of like a dad and son vibe going, and then I didn't think that. I don't know. I kind of went back and forth on that. I couldn't tell if he was like protective over him and nice to him, or just blackmailing him and gaslighting him.
I think it's the first one.
Yeah.
Especially when we get to it towards the end. Maybe I'll talk about it a little bit more. But most of the characters in this are like the central sort of characters in the story, which is really Baby, Buddy, and Doc are kind of like, they're not one note sort of flat characters or anything.
Right.
Someone like Bats, who will come up soon, Jamie Foxx's character, and Darling are kind of basic one note you get what you get with them
Yeah.
sort of characters. But they're not central to... Well, Darling is a little bit more central to the plot, but Bats really isn't, so he can be whatever. John Barenthal's character is in it for 15 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Joe, who will be introduced in a moment, similar, doesn't really do much to the story or anything.
I did make a note of... I can never remember his name. John Barenthal. Right? John Barenthal. I made a note. Uh-oh. There he is. Also, yikes. He just said a hard R. Walking Dead guy plays such a great asshole.
Hard R means something differently, usually.
Does it? He makes a comment about someone being
slow.
Slow. Yes, that's what I meant.
And Doc says, was he slow? No, he's fast.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard R usually means another word that starts with an N.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, that's not. He doesn't say
That's not what you mean.
That's not what I meant.
We see at this point, Baby is storing the money that he's getting. He's hiding them under a floorboard in this little apartment that he lives in, where he's caring for an old deaf man named Joe.
Yeah.
And we'll learn later on, but it's really kind of small, is that Joe was the foster parent for Baby after he had an accident.
Yes.
And the old man knows that he's hiding money, knows that he's doing something sort of criminally
sketchy.
He's watching the news and he sees there's one of the street light cameras
CCTV thing
caught a picture of him.
Yeah.
And he knows that it's Baby, and he's signing to him you need to be done with this, get out of this, you're a good kid. And Baby's signing back one more job and I'm done, I promise.
And it's so sweet to see how he cares for this man. You know, he's making him sandwiches cut special without the crust, and he's, making sure he's comfortable, and he's got a blanket on him and things like that. So you're really getting to see that Baby, while he is in this lucrative business, he, when it comes down to it, is a very caring and empathic, compassionate person.
Yeah. And we also see at this point that Baby carries a recorder on him where he records the meetings, and he recorded the moment where where Griff asks if he's slow, and then Doc is like, no, he wasn't slow, or whatever it is that he says. And he takes these recordings and he mixes them into songs of his own creation.
Like a DJ.
Yeah.
Just reworking them, remixing them, putting them to music so that they sound cool.
Yeah. And we see that he's got tons of tapes, loads and loads of cassette tapes.
100 at least?
Yeah, probably.
Just a big old organized system of tapes.
Most importantly is the one that says Mom on it.
And that's all it says.
And we get a flashback at this point of showing young Baby in the backseat of a car, his parents in the front arguing as they crash into the back of an 18-wheeler. Yeah.
Just Final Destination.
He was listening to music while this crash happened. Right. Did you just say Final Destinationing them?
Yeah.
I don't think that's quite the same.
I'm terrified of flying into the back of an 18-wheeler.
Well, pay attention to the road and that won't happen.
I do.
Don't take your eyes off the road.
But yeah, it's such a sad moment to see, but at least we're getting background on why Baby is the way that he is.
Yes. We also, at this point, then cut to Baby at a diner. And he's at this diner and he's just sitting there, and then we see a girl come over and ask, can I get you a coffee or whatever? And it's the girl that we had seen earlier when he got the coffee.
Yeah.
So he's kind of creepily stalking her, but not really.
I think it's in a cute way. The cute kind of stalking.
He overhears her singing. She's singing a song saying, B-A-B, my baby.
She's like, while she's cleaning, she's just kind of like humming and singing to herself, like under her breath, and he picks up on it.
Yes. And he, when she's like, what, can I get you anything? Or when they're talking a little bit, he tells her that he's a driver. She tells him that she just wants to kind of drive off into the sunset and escape this town sort of thing. Just drive west endlessly. He calls her beautiful at one point. Mm-hmm. Just, lets it slip.
It's so cute. I love their interaction and I love their chemistry because he is so immediately intrigued by her after hearing her, singing. And yeah, he absolutely just falls in love immediately. We end up seeing him at one point. He goes to buy a vinyl record of the song that she was singing.
Yeah.
Which is so cute.
Yeah, he asks her what the song is and goes out the very next day to buy it on an album of it.
And takes it home and puts it on the record player, and him and his
and he's
elderly...
dancing with Joe.
Yeah, him and the elderly man are just dancing together, and it's so cute because he is just absolutely on cloud nine. Like, this is such a break from the basically, crime that he's doing and the seedy people that he's interacting with. He's getting this little breath of fresh air of a genuinely delightful girl who just seems so positive. She kind of has like this Disney princess vibe about her. And he's just so excited to have a change of pace.
And then we cut to the next day, or the next meeting he's going to at least, for the next crime thing. So we meet a new crew, because again, Doc does not work with the same people other than Baby.
Right.
Not back to back to back at least. Never the same crew, he says that. And we meet the new crew, and this includes Bats, who's played by Jamie Foxx, another guy, and then two other people. One of them being Flea, the bassist from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, that's right. That was so funny to realize.
During this, whenever Doc's kind of going over the bank job, Bats realizes that Baby's got headphones in and he's got glasses on, and he's like, what? He's not even listening. What's wrong with him? And this is where we find out that he's got tinnitus.
Yeah.
So he's got a little hum in his drum, I think is what he says. So Baby hears a little buzz constantly, and he uses the music to kind of drown it out.
Right.
He got that after getting into the car accident with his parents.
Right.
We also learned that Doc found Baby because he watched Baby steal one of his cars in the past and saw him drive off and just saw how good he was. So instead of like breaking his arms or legs or hurting his family or whatever, he brought him into this as a driver because of how good he was. So now, and that's why he owes him money, is because he stole and crashed the car or whatever it was.
He owes him a debt.
Yeah.
But this scene is so great because Jamie Foxx's character is just so dead set that he is not paying attention. He doesn't care about what he's doing. He's just a dumb kid sitting in the back with his arms folded. And we get to see a moment where basically Baby takes, the earbuds out and reiterates to the T every single thing that was said, proving like I had my headphones in, but I heard everything. I've got this down to a T in my brain.
Well, he lip reads.
Yeah, and he lip reads. So, fuck you. Yeah. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Don't test me.
During the meeting, they are told that they're going to get the Michael Myers mask from Halloween.
That was
the movie Halloween. And when they go to do the job the next day, they get this big, like, SUV type vehicle.
Yeah.
And when the three are going to put on the masks, they're handing out the masks, and the guy goes, "These were supposed to be Michael Myers masks." And the guy goes, "This is Mike Myers." And it's the actor, Mike Myers. It's like an Austin Powers mask.
Yeah.
And
That was hilarious.
he's like, no, from Halloween. He's like, these are Halloween masks. The story behind that's something along the lines of they couldn't get the rights to use actual Michael Myers masks. And Edgar Wright or someone in some way knew Mike Myers and pitched to him using his likeness sort of as like a fun joke. And apparently he thought it was hilarious and was like, do it.
I think that is pretty funny.
It is very funny.
Very good call.
So they're robbing an armored truck this time. Not a bank or anything, so an armored truck.
Like a Brinks. Brinks?
I do not know.
Like a Brinks truck.
Yeah, something like that. And when they get out to go do it, Baby kind of notices that there's this truck that's sort of like pulled in to a parking spot and is sort of watching them a little bit. So they go to do it and they're about to get back into the car, and Baby notices that maybe one of the armed security guards was like, he's bleeding, so he must have been like hit really hard or something. And as they go to try and leave, that truck hits him from the side.
Yeah.
And the driver of it pulls out a gun to start shooting at them. So he's like an undercover cop or like a retired, like a vet. I think we find out that he was like a veteran or something who just happened to be there.
Just there.
Which, it's okay. Max got a little excited about people outside.
He's still getting used to whenever the gate opens. He's trying to get used to understanding that it's not always someone coming to the house.
Yeah.
Like, people just are going by. It's not always us. So, anyway, sorry about that.
So this truck driver is basically chasing them around. There's kind of a shootout sort of going on. And at one point, they get on the highway and the truck driver follows them. The truck driver, they're next to an 18-wheeler and he kind of fishtails them.
Yeah.
And they get stuck. The front of the SUV they're in kind of gets under the 18-wheeler and the trucker is pushing them along.
Yeah.
And Bats pulls up his shotgun ready to shoot the guy, like, I got you. And Baby sees it, and Baby does a turn to make it to where he doesn't shoot and kill the guy. And then he kind of goes off-roading, and the truck tries to follow, and the truck ends up, like, barrel rolling over so he can't follow anymore. And they escape. Again, they go to, like, a parking garage. They split into two different vehicles this time and head back. Oh, no, actually, that's not true. They steal a car from an old lady who's got from a lady who's got a baby in the back seat.
Right.
And this is where the one guy in the thing says he forgot his gun. He left his gun behind. And then they get to a parking garage, split up, and leave.
I think they make it now. Don't all 18-wheelers have, like, flaps now? Nowadays on the side so that a car couldn't possibly go underneath it?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's very
fast. Well, I assume that that's why they made it, but I don't know the specifics of why most have that.
I would assume so.
I don't know.
It was very Fast and the Furious-y.
Yeah, very Fast and the Furious-y. Jamie Foxx at one point when they're driving does tell Baby that the moment you catch feelings is when you catch a bullet.
Yep.
In this line of work, because he asked Baby, like, did you make me miss my shot?
Yeah.
Like, did you purposely do that? And Baby's like, no, I was just getting us out of there. So we go again to sort of the next morning thing we've seen before. Baby goes and gets coffee, brings the coffee in. 4 coffees, plops one down in front of Bats, plops one down in front of Doc, one in front of Flea, and then one at an empty seat.
Yeah.
And JD, one of the robbers, is not there. And Bats just says he's long gone. Like, he took his money and he left.
Yeah.
Is sort of what it's insinuating. When they finish the meeting, they're all riding an elevator, kind of getting off and leaving, and Baby and Doc get off together, and Baby sees hanging out of the trunk like a hand.
Yeah.
and Doc goes over, opens it. It's JD. He was killed.
Yeah, he did.
He tosses his body, closes it, tells Baby to go take care of it. And Baby drives this car to a scrapyard.
Yeah.
And gets the car crushed into like a cube. I feel like I've seen this sort of thing happen in many movies, and I don't know how like logistically it would work or how like dead bodies work in this situation. But I would think if you crushed a car with a body in it, would there not just like would you not see blood
everywhere,
like splattered all over the place?
I would think so. It's a fascinating question.
Isn't it?
I don't want to. I don't. If someone knows the answer, I don't think I want to talk to them.
Yeah. We also at this point, Baby's all square.
Yeah.
He's paid back what he owes for the car to Doc. He's square at this point. Everything's all good. We get another flashback to his mother, and we see that she's in like a recording studio, so she was singing.
Yeah.
And we also see her gifting him an iPod and being abused by his dad.
Yeah.
So some happy memories, some shitty memories.
Yeah. So we're just getting a little bit of additions to his story to understand his character.
He then goes back to the diner just as the girl is about to leave, and he asks to go with her, and she's like, well, I don't think it'll be much fun.
Yeah.
He finally gets her name, that it's Deborah. They have a little conversation that, like, there are tons of songs about Deborah's, and she asks him what his name is, and he says Baby, even though we are aware that it's a code name.
Right.
And she's like, well, you lucked out. Every song's about baby.
Every song's got a baby in it.
Every song's about a baby. So they end up going to the laundromat together, and they're just listening to music together, having a good time.
Vibing with each other.
She reveals at this point, when he kind of mentions that, like, there was a bad accident, his parents died, all that sort of stuff, she reveals that her mother also died. And so they've got, even more of a connection to what's going on. And then...
It's a very unfortunate thing to have in common.
Yeah. They kind of go their separate ways. Baby's sort of happy. He's telling Joe that he's free. He doesn't need to do that work anymore. Joe tells him, then you need to get a real job. And he holds up a little, like, pizza flyer.
Yeah.
You might think of, like, to go get pizza, but no, to go get a job. Because what do pizza places need?
Drivers.
Delivery drivers. So there's a dumb little quick joke in there where he's, like, delivering some pizzas, and the guy's like, whoa, that was fast. And he's like, I know. I know.
You got here really quick.
I'm quick.
I'm a good
My
driver.
real question is he stealing cars to do the deliveries?
I didn't think about that. That's a good question. Surely not.
He's never driving the same car in any of the things.
That is also true.
Or maybe there's like a company car, I guess,
yeah,
could
maybe
be
it's
possible.
A company car.
Also, I feel like there's a line about him not having a driver's license. And if he doesn't have a driver's license, how was he hired to be a driver to begin with?
Yeah, I think there was a comment that he didn't have a license. Which
Very
is weird.
Confusing. He then takes Deborah out to a fancy restaurant for a date.
All of this money that he's been saving and keeping in his floorboard that he's not spending on himself. He doesn't even, like you said, not even buying himself a coffee. He's saving every little bit of it. And now he's finally going to use a tiny bit of it on a fancy night on the town with her.
Yeah. And as they're having this lovely evening at a probably paid way too much for whatever you had there.
Like a fancy steakhouse.
It's probably fancier than that.
Yeah.
The waiter comes over and says, hey, everything was paid for by this gentleman over at the bar or whatever, wherever. And he looks over and it's Doc. Doc sort of like waves at him like, hey. And
you're like, oh, shit.
He all of a sudden knows like, oh, shit, something's up.
He's just been sitting there like watching them have a delightful date. And
I don't know that he was watching them. It could have just been like he was there and then looked over and happened to notice him.
But I felt really bad too because I feel like he was really excited to actually spend his money on something fun, and then this dude like took it away.
Yeah.
Which then also makes her have questions about who that is.
Right. So Baby goes over to talk to Doc, and they have a little bit of conversation where Doc basically says, "You didn't think you were done, did you?" Mm-hmm. He's like, "We're square, but this is the fun bit. This is where you're actually going to start making a real profit." And tells him that there's a job coming up, and basically says something along the lines of like, "Look, you don't want to get on my bad side, or you don't want to know what happens when people say no, because I know, I can get to your girlfriend, I can get to Joe, I know all of this stuff about you," basically threatening him to, if you don't do this, I'll break your legs.
Big time blackmail. And he's very nonchalant and blasé about it. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You have to do. I own you, basically, is what that equaled to. And again, we're seeing Baby trying to figure out in his head how to explain this situation to someone outside of the bubble, Deborah.
You don't gotta explain it. All you gotta do is kiss.
All you gotta do is kiss.
That's all that matters. They kiss.
They do kiss.
Everything's happy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably, indicative of him being like, okay, I'm coming up with an escape plan for this. I want to be with her. Seal the deal with a kiss.
Yeah.
Sort of situation.
Like, this isn't the life I want to live anymore. I want to be with her. I want to experience happy things and make happy memories and not do, stuff that is against the law.
So basically the next day, Baby is with Doc, and Doc's showing him like an on location, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're going to rob this post office. In there, they've got envelopes or whatever it is that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's an easy million if we take 4 of them or something. It's like $250,000 per box or something. And in the back seat is his nephew.
Yeah.
He's just like, now, Baby, you go in there, just take off your sunglasses, take off your iPad stuff, go in there. You need to figure out how many cameras there are, how many armed guards, how many registers there are, how many are open, how many tellers, how many customers, just general information for this time of day so that we can plan basically. And also take my nephew because it'll look less suspicious if you take a kid
and he's
with you.
like all of 8 years? What did he say?
8 years old.
8 years old. Yeah. Just a little, and he's like on like a Switch or something, or like some sort of Game Boy or something.
I didn't really pay attention to what it was, but he is on some sort of handheld system.
Yeah, so he, in almost the same way that Baby will have his music on and not pay attention, but pay attention at the same time, this kid is playing a game and doing something, but also listening to everything that they're saying, which I thought was
because
funny.
they get in there and we see Baby being not exactly subtle about staring at everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And while he's looking and sort of counting in his head, the little kid speaks up and goes, he's like, 8 cameras, 1 security guard, 4 registers, 3 are open, 10 customers
He
or
just
something.
completely Rain Mans him.
He just says everything that's going on. So then they go up, and the whole thing was they had to buy some stamps.
Yeah.
And he buys some stamps from this employee who seems really nice. They have like a little conversation. The little kid sort of speaks up and talks in his little like charming sort of thing.
Yeah.
This is where you
cutie
find
pie.
out that he's 8 because she's like, oh, how old is he? And Baby's like, 4? And he's like, 8.
8. I'm 8 years old, not 4. And she's like, oh, okay. Seems like something you should know.
Yeah. After this, they get back into the car, and Baby tells Doc the information. The kid speaks up again, and Doc is just like, he's a chip off the old block. He like takes after me or whatever.
Yeah.
Baby ends up calling Deborah at her job tells her unfortunately he has to drive again even though he doesn't want to. But he wants to go west like she said and never look back. And she's like, oh yeah, really? And he's like, really? I'll get back with you with more details.
She definitely doesn't believe him at first. She's like, kind of like, ha ha, that's so funny, running away, into the sunset in love. But
yeah.
he, by the look on his face and his tone, how it changes, she realizes that he's serious. And she immediately thinks, this is my white knight,
yeah.
or my knight in shining armor, here to take me away.
So we get to the new job, or we get to an introduction of the crew who's going to do this job, and it's all familiar faces.
Yep.
We're seeing Buddy, John Hamm, Darling, Isa Gonzalez. Totally saying her name wrong. I know it. But they're a couple, so they're always together.
And
Buddy
they,
and Darling.
they also really, throughout that movie, need to be sprayed with a hose. They are just constantly making out and just
that's love
on each other.
That's what love is.
They need a spray bottle.
That's true love.
They need to be hosed down.
And then the third one is Bats, Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
We see at this point Bats is kind of being shitty like always. Jamie Foxx is just like a complete shithead throughout the entire movie, which is
he's
great.
a dick.
But John Hamm kind of tries to build a little bit of a relationship with Baby. He comes over and asks him what he's listening to, asks him what his like go-to song for in the moment is, and this is where he says it's Brighton Rock, the Queen song, and Buddy takes one of the headphones, puts it in, tells him to put on Brighton Rock.
Yeah.
They're listening to it. Jamie Foxx is like, what are y'all listening to? And they're like, Queen. And he makes like a comment about Queen and something else, and John Hamm's like, what, have you never been a wheelman? John Hamm basically says that he's been the driver before.
Yeah.
He had a song, a go-to song. And Bats is like, no, I don't, I got too many voices in my head already. I don't need that stuff.
We definitely see that John Hamm's character, up until now, he's got some sort of empathy for Baby. And he stands up for him when people are trying to be shitty to him. So he definitely kind of does a boomerang or a back and forth of like making the audience think, oh, I really like him. Ooh, I don't like him now. Oh no, I like him again. Oh, he's nice now. So up until now, I thought that his character was pretty stand up.
So because of the job, Doc tells them they're all staying the night because they got to get some guns because this is a big job. They got to go get some guns from Doc's contacts, so that night they're going to go get guns. So they all go off to go get these guns. They meet at like this abandoned factory house sort of thing. And I feel like this was a clip in the trailer if I'm not mistaken, but they all go in. Bats hands Baby a gun, says, look, we all have to be holding guns.
Yeah.
So we all look, a certain way. Just trust me. And they get in there, and one of the guys who's there, like arms dealers, people's like, don't I know you, to Bats? And he goes, you're still alive, so we must not have met before. And then they're like, okay, well, what's that guy? What's he doing? And they're like, he's just listening to music. He's like, what's he listening to? And Bats is like, I don't know. And he walks over, grabs the headphones, and goes, tequila. Tequila.
Tequila.
Yeah.
That was a pretty funny scene.
So while we're here, this little short guy in like a pure white suit comes out, and he's talking, in case like people are listening or whatever, he's talking about cuts of pork.
Oh yeah.
Like the pork fat from the head to the tail and everything in between. But it's different guns, grenades, ammunition, whatever, all this sort of stuff sitting here. And they're like, so how would you like your pig cooked or something like that? Or he says something like along the lines of like, how do you like your pigs? And Jamie Foxx says like a real quick quip of like roasted or something. And then he shoots the guy, causing a shootout, killing everybody there. And Buddy and everybody's like, what the fuck? Why'd you do that? And he's like, I know a pig. That guy arrested me in 1995. Like, he clocks the other guy as a cop.
Undercover cop.
And realizes that all of them must have been cops, so they kill all of them, take some of the guns and stuff, and leave.
He does... I mean, he's very aggressive, but he also does not clear anything with the rest of the group.
No.
He's just like a...
Oh, no, you know what I think he said? Smoked. He likes his pigs
yeah.
smoked.
Yeah.
So he, because...
He just carries himself like a little wild cowboy. He does what he does in the moment, and he does not need your A-OK on it.
Yeah, so as they're leaving, and they're trying to get out of there, Bats randomly sees a diner in the distance, goes, let's pull over, get something to eat. And Baby says no, like a real stern no. He says the food there sucks. Bats is like, well, now I want to go even more.
Because he never pipes up about anything,
right.
And suddenly now he's piping up and saying, I do not want to go there.
So when they get into the diner, Deborah is working, and she notices Baby, and he just kind of like looks down and ignores her. All four of them go and sit down at this booth together, and she comes over and goes, what can I get you? And Bats goes, 4 Cokes, but then he looks at Darling, who's Mexican, and goes, a Coca. So 3 Cokes and a Coca.
Yeah.
So she goes to get those, and Bats is basically just kind of being a shitty person.
Yeah.
And
Absolute
even
dickhead.
Buddy is trying to get onto him, but Bats goes, I know you.
Yeah.
Your life before this is you were probably like a Wall Street guy.
Yeah.
You started doing some drugs. The drugs started costing you too much. You started cheating on your wife with this lady, and now you rob people to keep your drug habit.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a drug habit, so I can rob people. We're different.
It's such a scene that like pisses you off, like, because you can tell the tension. You can feel Baby just absolutely wanting to jump out of his skin and get out of there.
And this is where Darling also says, you need to be careful because you don't want to see my buddy mad.
Yeah. Good line.
Good line.
And Baby is doing his best to try to make sure that they don't sense that he knows this waitress. Like, he doesn't want to make eye contact with her. He doesn't want to say anything. He wants...
But Bats kind of picks up on it and
Yeah.
asks him about it. And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So they go to leave, and Bats leaves first, and then Buddy and Darling, and Baby is there, like, left to pay, and he goes up to the counter and he slides her a note that says, road trip 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then he leaves.
I think, too, at this point, that she caught on that he was uncomfortable with the people that he was with. Like, I sensed, like, in her facial expression that she knew not to say anything, you know, like, I don't know, tip them to something.
Yeah.
What are you smiling at?
Your notes there that you didn't mention.
Oh. Oh, that's right. Oh, the Jamie Foxx character one?
No, the shootout one.
Oh, yeah. That's right. In the shootout scene where they were talking about the meat, the pig or whatever, I wrote down a note and said, the shootout scene. My dumbass would have thought they were actually talking about meats. I'm like, are we really getting meat here?
You also asked, where'd they get a grenade from? And it's like, they showed like 3 different grenades.
I forgot about that. Yeah, someone had a grenade. I was like, where did that pop up? My God. I also made a note, too, that the boss, what's the boss's name?
Doc.
When he was, you know, trying to scare Baby, you know, into doing this job, that he did make a comment like, your girlfriend or your girl, I mean, we want her to still be pretty, right? Like, insinuating like, I can make her not pretty anymore.
Yeah.
So that added to that.
At this point, after the diner, they show back up at the hideout, and Doc is sitting there. And Doc says, whenever my people do a deal, I always get a call. And I want to say the code word was like bananas.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I haven't heard any bananas.
Mm-hmm.
And Bats is like, there were cops. And they shot first, so we took them out.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know they were cops. They were my cops. Insinuating that, yeah, where do you think I got all the weapons from? They're dirty cops who work for me.
Yeah,
you
dipshit.
dumbass. And he's like, is that true? Did they shoot first? And Buddy and Darling both say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks to Baby and he's like, Baby, is that true? And this is Baby's kind of uncertain of what to do, and he just kind of says yes. And Doc is like, look, we're not doing this deal. There's going to be way too much heat because you guys killed a bunch of cops.
Yeah.
We're not doing it.
Idiots.
And Bats is like, no, we're still doing this. And Buddy and Darling are also like, yeah, we're still in. And he leaves it up to Baby to decide.
Mm-hmm. That would be the worst.
And Baby says, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it, because his plan was to just leave in the middle of the night anyway. So we'll do it. I'll leave. Who cares?
Yeah. Just get it over and done with. I got a schedule and I got somewhere to be.
Yeah. We do see that as Baby goes to leave, he goes around the corner and he's recorded their conversation again.
Mm-hmm.
And that night, we also get like a little dream sequence of him and Deborah and like getting in a car and driving off in the distance.
It's so cute. It's like black and white in like 1950s kind of style. They're dressed adorable and they're like so head over heels in love. It is such a cool sequence. I loved that.
So cute.
So cute.
So cute. So he wakes up. It's 2 a.m. He's kind of sneaking past everybody. We see Jamie Foxx and Buddy and Darling, who all look asleep, air quotes asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's up, he gets in a car and he starts to drive. Buddy stops him.
Yeah.
And Buddy tells him, he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I was just making sure things are ready.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, he said he was going out to get coffee. And he goes like, at 2 a.m.?
Mm-hmm.
At 2 in the morning, you're going to go get coffee? And Buddy goes, look, if you're going to run, leave and never come back.
Yeah.
He's just kind of telling him, I can kind of tell it you want to get out of this, but if you do this, you cannot ever come back here.
Yeah. We can never see you again.
Because it won't be good. And as he's doing that, into the passenger seat comes Bats. And Bats
That asshole.
shows that he found his recorder.
Yeah.
And this...
Ugh. You're just like, why? Why? He was pretending to be asleep. He was keeping an ear and an eye out on Baby. And now he is ruining the plan.
Yeah, and Baby tells them that I just make music with him, and Buddy goes, cops couldn't think of that dumb of an explanation.
Yeah.
And he's like, I promise I can go and I don't have him with me, but I can go and I can get him. And, or Bats is like, take us to him. And he's like, no, I'm not taking you because Joe's there.
Yeah.
But he knocks him out anyway.
Yep.
And when Baby wakes back up, they had gone to the apartment. They brought back all of the recordings. Doc is there, and Doc's asking, what the hell is this? They dump out all the tapes. He plays the tape, which we'd heard earlier, which is the one where he's like, was he fast or was he slow?
Yeah.
No, okay then. To show that he does just make music with these recordings.
Yeah. It's such a vulnerable scene where he's genuinely trying to tell them, what this is, and it's not what you think, and
they also find the tape with Deborah's recording on it.
yes.
And Bats and Buddy realize that was the girl from the diner.
Yeah. They're like, oh, so that's why you weren't talking that night when you were at the diner, or that's why you didn't make eye contact with the waitress.
Well, that's why you don't want us to go.
Yeah.
So they still do the heist. They go in. Buddy and Darling are dropped off at the front entrance. They have these glasses on that are they have lights on them to blind the cameras to kind of protect their face. So Buddy and Darling go into the front. Baby and Bats drive into the back, and Bats gets out and goes in the back. Baby's sitting here in the car, and in front of him he sees a truck with some like steel rods in the back of it. But he then sees the clerk that he spoke with the other day walking up, and he looks at her, and she recognizes him and kind of waves, and he shakes his head like, no, like, don't go in there. So she walks away, and as she's walking away, she brings back like a police officer.
Yeah.
And the police officer is looking at him like, what are you doing? Just as everybody's coming out the back, Bats shoots the officer or security guy. They all get in the car, and they're like, go, 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 just go. And at this point, it's kind of, this is sort of the trigger for Baby totally deciding to take everything into his own hands. And he floors it, driving the car straight forward into the back of the truck. The steel rods come through the window, killing Bats. Who you think at this point is that was the biggest threat to Baby, like, immediately.
Yeah.
They get out of the car. Buddy and Darling are like, what the hell are you doing? And the cops show up, and there's a little shootout. Buddy and Darling shooting, killing some cops, as Baby just runs away. And everybody else tries to run with them. And we get a cool little chase scene while they're all sort of running through this sort of the Atlanta, through like a little park and some sort of busy areas. And eventually, Baby steals a car from an old lady, and she's like, oh my god, and she hides behind a corner, and Baby's just sitting there changing the radio station to get to a song that he likes before he leaves. And then he also spins the car around, tosses her purse, and says, I'm sorry, and then takes off.
So very, very thoughtful for a criminal to take your car, but make sure that you have your purse and your belongings and your money. So she was kind of like, oh, okay.
Now, during all of that, at one point, Baby goes through a mall. He kind of tries to put on a little disguise, but the cops are right behind him, so he sees him. Mm-hmm. He gets out into a parking lot. He steals a car. And as he's trying to escape, he bumps into a truck. Inside the truck, Buddy and Darling.
Yeah.
They get out, and they're like, you're going to take us with you. And as they're doing that, the cops show up, and there's a shootout again. And Darling is out in the open, and she gets shot and killed. And Buddy sees this, and he tries to shoot at Baby, but Baby takes off. He then starts shooting at some cops. That's when he hijacks that lady's car.
Very, very sad to see her go.
Oh, and yes. And I'll circle back around to that, because there's a lot I want to say about the character of Buddy in this. Mm-hmm. But the song that he picks on the lady's car is Radar Love. Love that song. Ever since, I want to say it was like Guitar Hero 3, maybe. I have loved that song ever since. I used to play it all the time. From Golden Earring, Radar Love. Fantastic song. So Baby, when he steals her car, he goes home. He doesn't go to the hideout or anything. Yeah. He goes back home. He finds that his apartment was all ransacked all over the place. Joe is still alive. The money wasn't found, so he takes the money and he takes Joe, and he.
Also, if this picks up on the microphone, it is pouring rain.
Yeah.
So
it might be raining. If you hear that in the background, there you go.
It's raining pretty hard.
We can be silent for a minute and let you get some rain to fall asleep to.
ASMR.
Yeah. Just put it up against the window.
Yeah. I watch YouTube to have that.
That's probably really annoying sound.
Probably.
Moving the microphone around.
I looked at YouTube. I've watched YouTube videos at night that are rain sounds in fireplaces.
Not for me.
No. You need dead silence.
Yes.
Anyway.
I'll get my best sleep when I'm dead. Because then I can't hear anything. So Baby takes Joe and the money, and he drops him off at a elderly home, like a care facility.
Yeah.
He puts him into a rocking chair on the porch, stuffs a bunch of money in his little
Square pocket.
sweater or whatever he's wearing.
Yeah.
What are those called?
Cardigan?
Cardigan.
Yeah.
Yep. And then he makes a recording saying, "My name is Joseph. I'm this. I don't like this. I don't like that." Since he's deaf, just give them a little something about who he is. And then he leaves. And as he leaves, there's a police helicopter out there looking, saying, "Everybody stay in your homes."
Mm-hmm.
And Joe just says, he like signals to him, "Good luck."
Yeah.
Like, good luck. You're not
Alright.
going to find him. Good luck.
Love Joe's character.
Baby then shows up at the diner to
Yes.
go get Deborah. He had called earlier to tell them that he's on his way.
Mm-hmm.
And when he walks in, we see at the counter Buddy
Yeah.
having a cup of coffee. And so he goes and sits down next to Buddy. And Buddy, they have like a little conversation here. And Buddy asks, "Do you love her?"
Yeah.
And Baby says yes, that
It's
he
very,
loves her.
It's very tense.
And then a cop car shows up, and an officer comes in and goes to the bathroom. And as he goes to the bathroom, and Buddy sort of lets his guard down, he turns back around, and Baby, the gun that he had from, that he got from earlier, shoots Buddy in the shoulder, and takes Deborah, and they run out the back.
Yeah.
Other people who were at the diner are like running out the back too.
Taking cover.
To take cover and go to the police and be like, he shot an officer. And as the cop comes out of the bathroom, he's like, "Oh, dude, are you okay? Buddy turns and just kills him.
Yeah.
But Baby, while he was running, Buddy did say, "You can keep running, I will find you."
Yeah.
So this is different from what he said earlier, which was, if you're running, like, don't ever come back. In this case,
Disappear.
he's saying, "You can run, but I will find you."
I will always know where you are.
So I think at this point, just kind of cut between talking about the movie again, the character of Buddy, played by John Hamm in this, I think is one of the more brilliant parts of the movie. Because one, as you said earlier, first off, we do see him straight at the beginning.
Yeah.
So he's there the entire span of this movie, basically, him as a character. And we get the moments where he is kind towards Baby, and he tries to empathize and relate to Baby, saying, "I was also a wheelman. I had a certain song that I liked listening to." They both jam out to Queen. They have this thing.
Yeah.
And you can see him as the parallel to Baby in the sense of they're both the drivers at one point. They're in this life, even though maybe they could have had something better if he was, by happenstance, a Wall Street sort of white-collar kind of guy. And then they have this woman that they love. And the parallel here is just that Buddy loses everything and becomes, like, just super mad, angry. Like Darling said at one point, you don't want to see Buddy angry. Whereas Baby still has that and is fighting. He's fighting for it. Whereas Buddy is now trying to avenge what he has lost.
Yeah.
So there's this parallel between the two characters that I just think is really brilliant. That John Hamm just acts like excellent. John
He's
Hamm,
so good.
It's like such a shame that he doesn't have a bigger movie career than he does.
It's true.
Because he had Mad Men, which he was great as Don Draper in Mad Men.
Love Mad Men.
Mad Men took me like 2 times to actually watch fully. I started watching it, I think I got like a season through it, and then for whatever reason I stopped, and then I rewatched it at one point for all of it. And John Hamm was great in that. John Hamm's great in like every other small thing that he shows up in, but I think this performance might be, like, if you said Don Draper was his number 1, this is probably a number 2 for me.
So good.
Because he's just, you get the best of both worlds. You get his like lighthearted, sweet, nice side,
Yeah.
and then he can play a great villain.
Yeah, he can be an asshole. You really do get... He does so much with this character. that it really does check all of the boxes.
Yeah.
Like you said, compassion, funny, empathy, anger, bitterness, vengefulness, all of it.
And again, so you had Bats, Jamie Foxx, who felt like he was being set up to be like a final villain because he was just an asshole. He was just brash, angry the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to kill him off and kind of do a little swerve to be like, actually, it's going to be the guy you thought was sort of on your side.
Yeah.
Because Bats would have just been like the most generic person you could have gone with.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Excuse me. So Baby and Deborah at this point steal a car at gunpoint from these two like wannabe gangster kids.
It was really a funny scene.
Who ask if they can get their phone from him, and he's like, no, because he's playing music.
Yeah.
So after they steal the car, they go back to the hideout, where basically Baby just wants his cassettes back. And he gets there and he sees Doc, and he goes, I want my tapes.
Yeah.
Or at least one specific tape. And Doc says, no, like, you've got stuff that's potentially incriminating on there. No, I'm not going to give it to you, obviously.
He wants a very, very specific one.
Yes, he just wants the one that says mother on it.
Mom on it. That's it.
And as Doc is just like, no, Deborah sort of walks in, and he kind of, you can kind of see it in his face that he kind of re-evaluates the situation, realizing that shit has gone sideways. Obviously, he already knows that. That's why he's sort of packing up. But realizing that Baby's just, like, trying to get out of town. So he's like, fine, take it. Have your tape.
Yeah.
So, I lost my thought for a second.
It is interesting to see them realize that Baby just, he wants nothing to do with this. He wants no strings attached to any of them. You know, keep all of the tapes. I just want the one, and I just want out of this business, and I want to leave.
Yeah,
and
so
I feel like they almost see that as betrayal. In a way, like, oh, you think that you can leave, and you think that you can go have a great, happy life with your girl, and blah, blah, blah.
And blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
So Doc lets him take the tape, and Doc is going with them up an elevator to be like, okay, you just get out of here, take your tape, here you go, just leave. You can kind of see at this point where you said maybe Baby sort of looked at him sort of fatherly, or maybe he viewed himself sort of fatherly. I think this is the point where it kind of shows that.
Yeah.
Is that he did, it wasn't just that he owed him money. He used that clearly to have an excellent driver on his side, but he did think that they'd had something a little bit like friendlier
something
between
more.
that. Like there was something more with them. So he's helping Baby at this point. And we see, as they're doing that, 3 of the cops who were at that shootout had survived. And they had shown up. And Doc is like, oh, great. Doc just pulls out a shotgun and shoots all of them. Shoots them all down, takes care of it. And then we see another cop car showing up. And Doc is like, leave, I'll take care of this. And Baby's like, that's not a cop.
Yeah.
And this is where we see that it's actually Buddy driving the cop car. So he stole the cop car from the diner, and he's kind of over the megaphone being like, Baby, I'm coming for you, I'm going to get you. And Doc is like, I'll take care of this, you leave. And I don't know why he thought he could handle this, or what exactly the thought process here was. But he tries to shoot him with his gun through the windshield, and Buddy kind of does the movie thing where he just kind of ducked to the side, and he just runs Doc over.
Yep.
He just runs him over, and Doc is dead.
He gone. John Hamm's character is so just filled with rage at this point. He's so distraught. He has crossed over the line to being a rational, insane, I don't care what happens heartbreak kind of thing.
Yeah, he was in love.
He was in love.
They took that from him.
They did.
Things I do for love.
Yeah.
So Buddy's kind of chasing them. There's this whole scene of kind of a cat and mouse situation where Buddy and Deborah are trying to run and hide while Buddy's sort of searching for them. And the whole time he's on the megaphone like, oh, Buddy, baby, I'm coming for you. You can't hide. I'm going to find you. And they kind of trick him where Deborah kind of stands out in the open and Buddy sees her and is getting ready to like run her over.
Yeah.
Or is it Baby standing out in the open? I think it's her standing out in the open.
I think so.
I don't think I wrote that down. But one of them stands out in the open as a decoy. And as he's going to ram, the other drives the car. It is Baby. Drives the car forward and kind of T-bones him to try and push him off the edge of what at this point's like 7 or 8 floors up in this parking garage. And they managed to push the car over the edge. And everybody's kind of like, you know, a little bit celebratory. Like, ooh, it went over the edge. Awesome. That should be it. We shouldn't have to deal with anything anymore. But joke's on them because Buddy got out of the car and he's holding them sort of at gunpoint, or mostly Baby at gunpoint. And while he's doing that, Deborah comes up. She had found a crowbar in the back of the car, and she smacks the gun out of his hand and tries to like beat him a little bit. And because the gun got knocked out of his hand, Baby... actually what happened right before that is he was holding Baby at gunpoint while Deborah was in the car, and he goes... he basically says, I'm going to make you watch as I kill her. Mm-hmm. And he shoots his gun next to both of his ears.
Yes.
Basically making him go deaf, more or less.
I was so mad the first time that I saw that scene. I mean, I'm still mad. But the fact that his character realizes that listening to music and his hearing is so important in his life, for him to shoot... He wants to take everything He wants to take it from him, so he shoots his gun off literally right next to both of his eardrums, basically.
Yeah.
Taking away that one thing.
Yep.
So... Ooh. Oh, I'm enraged by it.
So that's where she then hits him with a crowbar.
Right.
And while the gun's on the ground, Baby grabs the gun, shoots him in the knee, and then... and he falls over the edge on top of the car, the police car that fell.
Yeah.
And then the car explodes. So Buddy is now dead.
And it's so sad, too, because I know that we talked about it a couple different times, but it really was this roller coaster of his character being really great, and then really shitty, and then sort of okay, and then terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so sad that he went to that end. He turned to the dark side, and that's how his story ended.
Then we see Baby waking up in a car. Mm-hmm. Deborah's driving. And they're just kind of on this road. Everything seems okay for a moment. But then they come to this bridge, and she sees ahead of them a blockade, a bunch of police blocking it off. And she stops, and she's going to kind of reverse, but in the rearview mirror, you see other cops cutting them off, so they were found. And Baby basically tells her, I'm not running anymore. Just, you sit here, I'll handle it. And...
he's basically saying, like, I will answer to the things that I've done.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem with taking responsibility for being a part of something bad and criminal, and I want to make this right.
Yeah, so Baby gets out of the car and surrenders. He gets arrested. Mm-hmm. We do see him get put into prison, but we get to see during a trial that there were a lot of character witnesses for him, which is Deborah saying nice things about him, the lady who worked at the post office saying nice things about him, like that he may have saved her life by trying to tell her not to go in there. Joe obviously saying good things, that he never wanted to hurt anybody, he just got in a shitty situation. And he's sentenced to 25 years in prison, but the possibility of parole after 5 years. Jesus.
I loved when the postal worker or whatever testified, because it was one of those things that, like, if you didn't notice it like right off the bat, maybe you could have missed it. But I like that they paid attention to.
Oh, also the lady he stole the car from was like,
oh yeah,
he did, but then he gave me my purse, and he also said he was sorry.
Yeah, he took my car, but he made sure that I had my purse and my money, and he said he was sorry. That was really, really great. It was really. I loved seeing those testimonies.
We also do get a reveal that his name is Miles.
Miles.
Not Baby, but also, as Maggie very much went, whenever it said Miles, she equates the miles to driving a car and going so many miles in a car.
I didn't get that the first time around. I thought that was so cool. I was like, holy shit. Miles.
We get to see that Deborah writes to him while he's in jail. That's where it's revealed what his name is, Miles, because she's like, it's so weird to know your name is Miles, but you'll always be Baby to me, or whatever. Yeah. And then we come to the end of the movie. And this, I'm going to ask you a question after saying this. We see, similar to the dream sequence we saw earlier, an image of Baby walking forward out of the prison to a like convertible car with Deborah sitting there in like a sundress and her hair all nice and done and whatever. And it starts off black and white and becomes color.
Yes.
So the end is essentially saying that he gets out, probably on parole for being like a good kid or whatever.
Good behavior.
My question is that real, or is that a dream of his, is when I get out, she'll be there waiting for me?
1,000,000% real.
You think so?
1,000,000%.
Is it because it fades into color?
Yes. I think he absolutely would get out on good behavior early.
But why would it start in black and white?
Because it did start as something that he was wishing for, and then it became real. And then it became real.
I guess that makes sense.
I could totally see her being there and, getting him in a cool car, and she's all beautiful, and
they also smooch.
They smooch. Yeah, totally real. I don't want to hear any of it.
Okay, I mean, that was just my thing. Is I go, is this a dream or is this real? I guess fading into color would mean that it definitely is real.
Yeah, that's what I think. And then that's the end.
That is the end of Baby Driver.
That's the end. I think it's a really great ending for the story. I'm still really sad about John Hamm's character, but as long as they got to, kind of ride off in the sunset together, that is just like the quintessential romance. Yeah,
I like a lot that this movie does. Like I said, the parallel between Buddy and Baby, I think, plays very, very well in the movie. I think it does a good job of giving you enough sort of red herrings to be like, John Barenthal was kind of shitty at the beginning. You don't actually know if he's going to come back or not. Bats is fucking crazy the whole time, and he does seem like we know he's willing to just kill anybody at any time.
Yeah.
But then to have it be Buddy, and even though there's like these subtle placements of the parallel between the two of them, the comment of like, you don't want to see Buddy when he's mad, all of those sort of things throughout is great.
It's so great. And I feel like I didn't catch onto those things the first time around. Yeah. And the more, it's one of those movies, the more that you watch it, the more that you're picking up on these subtle little details. Yep.
And then at the end, there's also, the story itself deals with the heroic fatalism, which is a dignified or graceful acceptance of one's circumstances in the face of personal disaster, up to or including, death. But in this case, it was Baby's journey was, at the end, we see that he does accept going to prison, doing the jail time for his roles in these, maybe one or multiple of these robberies. Is not 100% clear what all he's being charged for.
I can't remember. Does he have cochlear implants at the end for his hearing?
I don't think so.
I can't remember. I know that
I never noticed.
I know that if my hearing is already terrible, and if someone shot
your hearing is terrible.
My hearing is terrible. If someone shot a gun next to each of my ears,
yeah,
done. I'll never hear anything ever again. That's what happens after you turn 35.
Yeah.
You
lose your hearing.
That's when it starts.
So I think this might be my favorite movie that Edgar Wright's done.
Yeah.
I don't think... I mean, I could understand saying, like, Shaun of the Dead.
Those are really good movies.
Or some people might even argue Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
I like this better than Scott Pilgrim.
But I think that this is definitely my favorite one.
Yeah.
It's an original thing that apparently he had worked on for 2 decades, that he came up with the idea when he was younger, and then after he had started directing things and writing things, he kind of evolved it over time. So it was very much a passion project, and it's just it's great.
It's so unique, and I cannot picture anyone else playing Baby than Ansel Elgort. I feel like that was a prime top tier choice.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah. He
nailed it. So good. The soundtrack to this movie is amazing. I listen to so many of the songs still to this day. And yeah, the car sequences and the fight sequences are so well choreographed that it's like butter. It's like so smooth.
They are very impressive car scenes.
Smooth.
It's almost crazy to think, like, look, if Fast and the Furious didn't exist, I could almost see a world where this film for car stunts had the same impact as, like, John Wick did for action movies. Because the way that they filmed some of the stuff that they did in this is really impressive.
Yeah.
And there's not many car things that I can think that do it. But when you think car movies, Fast and the Furious now has 11 films in its series, if you count the Hobbs and Shaw movie. And those are just doing super unrealistic car things, while all of this stuff was mostly practical.
Yeah, practical effects.
Practical driving and stunt work, which is just super amazing. And I'd love to see more movies doing that.
I think that would be really awesome. I loved it. I loved the acting. The premise, all of it. I just love that movie. And you said that you were surprised that I picked it, or you didn't.
In a million years, I don't think I ever would have guessed that you would have chose this movie to watch. I don't know why you did. I don't know what brought it up to your mind to do it, but that's fine.
I don't know, but I'm happy that we did.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Great movie. If you haven't seen it, please see it. Or if you have seen it, watch it again.
Watch it again.
Watch it again. It's great. It still holds up. I don't...
Even if you gotta put on blinders for Kevin Spacey.
And put the blinders on. He's a...
I don't know, man. I didn't want to talk about it more, but I just... Like, my brain has no issues not... And this goes beyond, like, people like Kevin Spacey. Like, let's take Tom Cruise, for example. Would I like Tom Cruise personally as a person?
No.
Probably not.
He's crazy.
Probably not. But
as an actor,
I don't have any issue watching any movie that he's in and not seeing, oh, that's Tom Cruise. Like, if I watched Mission Impossible, he's Ethan in that. Like, I don't look at that and go, oh, look, there's Tom Cruise doing crazy Tom Cruise stuff again. I don't. I'm capable of going in, and that's not Tom Cruise. This is a completely separate person. But I know people who are like, I'll refuse to see a movie because I don't like Tom Cruise. It's like, but that doesn't make sense to me. It just does not make sense to me.
I feel really bad sometimes lately because of, what's his name? Masterson from that 70s show. Is it John Masterson?
I don't know what his name is.
Hyde from that 70s show. He's like...
Yeah, he's going to prison.
He's going to prison. But I used to love his character so much.
You can still like the character.
Yeah.
The character is not him.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there can be a difference. Almost.
You'll have to pry 7 out of my cold, dead hands if you tell me to never watch a movie with Kevin Spacey again.
Oh, that's such a good movie. That is a really, really, really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one?
Or K-Pax. Random shout out to K-Pax.
I love K-Pax.
I feel like...
What's the one?
We're going off on a tangent,
Sorry.
but K-Pax is like a fever dream to me.
Is
I'm
it?
pretty confident we saw that in theaters. I don't think I even knew who Jeff Bridges was at the time when we saw that movie. But I felt like for the longest time I knew who Kevin Spacey was, but I felt like it was this weird fever dream of a movie that didn't actually exist, where Kevin Spacey was an alien, and I liked the movie, and forever I could not figure out what it was. And then one time randomly I saw like K-Pax and was like, I think that's the movie.
For some reason, I used to get K-Pax and what was that John Travolta movie? Phenomenon? I used to get those confused so much. Also, wasn't it Kevin Spacey that was in what's that movie like with it's like the lineup, all the guys in jail, and
The Usual Suspects.
The Usual Suspects. That was him, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
love that movie. Terrible guy, but love the movie. Yeah, so it's. I also do a separation as well with Spider-Man. I think certain actors either play Spider-Man very well, but aren't a good Peter Parker. Like I have like a line. Someone might be a great Peter, but not a good Spider. That makes sense.
Might be a great Peter, but not a good Spider.
That makes sense in my brain.
That's okay.
Anyway,
that was a random tangent.
Yeah,
so there you
sorry.
go. How do you feel about actors and separating them from things? So thanks everybody for listening to another episode. I think this is number 10, 9?
Couldn't tell you.
Man, I can't keep track.
No idea.
But thanks for listening. You can always find more of our stuff on any of the platforms where they're streaming podcast stuff. So Apple, Spotify, Podbean. I think it goes up on Stitcher. All those places, or YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram at COAS_podcast, where we post a bunch of random stuff all the time. Yeah. So we'll see you next week for whatever my choice will be.
It's going to be his choice next time.
Yep.
So we shall see what that is.
We will see what it is.
And depending on what time you're listening to this, have a great morning, afternoon, or evening.
Okay.
Or week.
All right.
Or weekend.
You have whatever you want to have.
Have the day you deserve.
But thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.